Currently I'm at that age right now where I have a lot of family and friends that are faced with some really tough decisions given the impact of things beyond their control in the world today. And one of the things that gets talked about is how certain bills are going to be met. How, if you can't go out there and you can't make money, how are you supposed to, pay the light, pay the gas, pay the mortgage, all that good stuff. And then on top of that, a lot of people have, gone to college and have racked up a certain amount of student loan debt that they have been paying off. Now, when you have a job and income-based repayment and a couple of other things, you can make ends meet and pay these bills. But when the ability to work gets taken away from you, again, no fault of your own, gets taken away from you, that becomes a really, really serious issue. Now, normally on this channel, we don't talk about things like this. We don't talk about student loan debt or any other type of debt. We talk about things that are, I think, generally fun, things that can be more escapism. But because it's such a big conversation that's being had right now, I just wanted to sort of chime in and give my opinion, which is a very basic opinion, and that is that you cannot trust the government. So with all this talk about relief and all this other stuff, I want you to remember one thing. You can't trust the government. That's just the way that it is. It's not that they're bad people. It's just that they're people, and people are flawed. Let's talk about it a little bit more right now. Let's see. So, one of the things that we're talking about is relief, right? This is an article that came out today on the 7th. There are now 5 plans to forgive student loans. How do they compare? These 5 plans are exactly what they are. They're plans. They're not anything that's been put into action yet. What has been put into action is this right here: the protections provided by the CARES Act, and it only provides temporary relief for current student loan borrowers. And one of them is suspended interest, suspended payments, and collections. Now, this is a really big one, and this is why I tell you, do not trust anything that you hear here, because this collections part, we can go right here to good old Betsy DeVos, and it says right here in Yahoo, no matter the pandemic, the Department of Education still seizes wages from student loan borrowers' suit claims. Now, one of the things that they said that they were going to do was they were going to suspend the seizures of people's wages if you couldn't make the payments. Well, they just took it right out of your damn check, and they said they're going to stop that. Right? This is May 1st, by the way, so it's only been a few days, not too long. So it's been happening up to the beginning of this week, after they said they were going to stop doing this. And this is why you cannot trust anything that these people say. If you can make your payment, you make that payment. If you can make half that payment, you make half that payment. You do whatever you have to do, because you cannot put your financial future in the hands of people who are going to lie to you. They're going to lie to you. This government has a tendency to tell you one thing and do the exact opposite. That's just how they work. And because of that, when we listen to them, we put our own lives in their hands, our financial future, our emotional well-being, we put it in their hands, they will always disappoint you. Now, there was a lawsuit brought up against the Department of Education because they were still doing it. About 285,000 borrowers in New York. So, and just because it's only 285,000, there could be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people more, but they've been taking it, because that's a lot of why this government can do the things that it does. It's because most of the time people are just going to take it. There are articles out there right now that are telling you that you should stop paying your student loan debt because there's all this relief coming. So why pay for it? Well, the thing is that none of it is guaranteed, number one. And number two, you never want to put your life in the hands of another person. Debt is one of the worst things that a person can have on top of them. You eliminate control. You take it out of your hands and you hand it to someone else because now you are indebted to them. So here is another article right here. This one was a bad surprise. Many student loan borrowers don't qualify for the relief. The CARE Act did offer some relief to 35 million Americans who owed a combined 1.3 trillion in direct federal student loan debt. Now, here's the thing. That right there is a misstatement because it's saying it gave them relief. But what kind of relief? Are we talking about suspended interest? Well, suspended interest just really means that you pay the principal, but we won't charge you any interest for a certain amount of time. Or suspended payments. Well, suspended payments can mean, okay, well, you don't have to make a payment right now, but your interest is still going to accrue until you're going to have to make a payment. So here's one thing that a lot of people don't talk about. During the last 2008 bailout, when a lot of banks and so forth, they were doing things where they were trying to help the borrowers. What they were doing was they were saying, you don't have to make payments for 90 days. You don't have to make payments for 180 days and blah, 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 blah. And then when those 90 days or 180 days were up, they were asking for all the money at one time. And if you couldn't pay that money, well, guess what? You were already 90 days or 180 days without making a payment, which means you were in breach of the contract that you had, because a mortgage is a contract. Student loan is a contract between you and the other party. Either Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or Navient, or Fannie Mae, whoever it is. It's a contract between the two that they would give you some money and you would pay them back with interest in a certain amount of time. Now, if you go right now and you take that suspended payments, right, what will happen is you won't pay for 3 months. They'll come back to you after 3 months and they'll say, hey, listen, we want all the money and we want it all now. Now, just because they suspend the interest for 90 days doesn't mean they're not going to tack it on at the end. Suspending the interest and eliminating the interest is two completely separate things. The wording really matters because this is where people will start getting screwed and it won't be publicized. You notice there was only 285,000 people who tacked onto that lawsuit in New York. There could be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people right now across this country that are suffering with the same thing and don't have the same recourse as these other 285,000 people to go out and get a lawyer and start a class action lawsuit. How many times have you been screwed over just in your life and you just said, screw it, I'm going to take it because what else am I going to do? And this is exactly the sort of things that we need to watch out for. We cannot trust these programs. We cannot trust these people with our lives. It's not because they're bad people. They might be great people, but they're people, and people are flawed. And that's just the way that it is. Let's look at, really quickly, these 5 plans. You have relief for essential workers. The proposal will provide student loan forgiveness and other relief to essential workers. The bill is called the Opportunity for Heroes Act. Now, if you're an essential worker, to me, all people are essential and all businesses are essential workers, but that's not here nor there. They will be given $25,000 towards student loan forgiveness. Now, I want you to ask yourself really quickly, $25,000, what is the average amount of student loan debt that a person has? Is that really forgiveness? You see, there's always a caveat in all these things. Alternatively, eligible workers could use the funds towards education tuition, continuing education, or vocational training. That's cool, right? If you're an eligible worker and you decide that you want to go and do some more training, so do some continuing education, they'll give you $25,000 to do that. No problem. Essential workers will include healthcare workers, first responders, pharmacy workers, grocery store workers, and postal workers, among other professionals. Federal and private student loans will be eligible for forgiveness. Forgiveness, $25,000 worth of forgiveness. The award would not be taxed as income. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. Because that's another thing that they do, and that's why they have to specifically lay it out right here. They will give you something, but then they will tax it as income. So the effectiveness kind of goes out of the window because it's not really $25,000 anymore. You're going to subtract, whatever your wherever you're at, whether it's at 25%, 15, 25, 30% of your income. That's what it's going to be taxed at the end of it. Now, here's another one: relief for medical workers. This one is a bill proposed by Caroline Maloney. She's a Democrat of New York. By the way, who's the one who did this one? Also a Democrat from New Hampshire, Ann Kuster. This is from a Democrat. This is a student loan forgiveness for frontline healthcare workers. All federal and private student loans will be forgiven for medical students who are caring for patients suffering from COVID. I can't say that word because of YouTube. YouTube don't like that word. So there's no cap on student loan forgiveness. Doctors, nurses, aides, medical residents, interns, technicians, and researchers would be eligible. The forgiven student loan balance would not be treated as taxable income. So that's pretty cool right there, right? That one's 110%. You're going to get paid 100%, but you have to be a medical worker. Okay, no problem. Universal student loan forgiveness. The Senate version. Democrat senators have been pushing for across-the-board student loan forgiveness. Their plan includes these details. The government would pay up to $10,000 in regular student loan payments. Only direct federal student loans and FFEL program loans would be eligible. Private loans would not be eligible. And the $10,000 would not be treated as taxable income. So New Hampshire Representative Ann Kuster will receive $25,000, but that's only if you're an essential worker. If you're a medical worker, Caroline Maloney from New York wants to give you all of it. And Democratic senators want to give you $10,000, but only towards your federal student loans. And then here is the House version of this. This is the Student Debt Emergency Relief Act, and this is by Miss Omar and Presley, Congresswomen. I think Omar, I'm trying to remember if she's from Michigan. I don't remember. This proposal goes much further. This would give you $30,000 in federal loans. Private loans would not be eligible. $30,000 would not be treated as taxable income. And for student loan borrowers who continue to have student loan payments due even after the $30,000 in cancellation, the government would assume their monthly payments during the duration of the national emergency, so borrowers can remain on track for loan forgiveness or loan payoff. Now, this is from Vice President Joe Biden, and this one comes. Biden's proposal would forgive all undergraduate federal student loan debt for certain borrowers. Typically, undergraduate federal student loan debt averages just under $40,000, although in some cases it can be nearly $60,000. So just right here, $40,000 right here. They want to give you $30,000 here in the House, $10,000 in the Senate, and this one only for essential workers. That'll be $25,000. And this one would be all. Okay? Just want you to keep track of these numbers, right? It's getting kind of crazy. Just under $40,000, although in some cases it can be nearly $60,000. Student loans for graduate programs would not be covered, and neither would private student loans. Graduate programs are fucking expensive, and so this is pretty crazy. This is when you start going up there, because once you get out of your undergraduate program, if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, something like that, man, that debt starts crushing you. But eligibility would be limited to borrowers who attended public colleges and universities, as well as historically black colleges and universities, and privately minority serving institutions. So it is, if you went to Harvard, Yale, or any other private Christian university, you would not get this. So you would not be eligible for that. So they're all trying to do something, but in order to push it in, they're trying to make concessions on certain things. They're trying to, wiggle it around where they think it may possibly pass. It's interesting, but I want you to notice something. Every single plan that is here has some sort of catch-22. Every plan has some sort of catch. And that's why you have to watch your ass when it comes to making decisions based on anything that the government is trying to push. Don't listen to any articles that are telling you right now not to stop paying your bills because this relief, that relief, and all that good stuff. Don't do it. Do the best that you can right now. And you really have to, it's going to be a struggle, and I know it's definitely going to be a struggle, but I think in the long run, when you start seeing how other people are going to get screwed by these programs that are meant to help them, you're going to really understand why the struggle was worth it. It's tough. It's really tough. But it's just, how could you ever advise anybody to trust people that are so far removed from the reality of living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, from the reality of having to make these decisions? And it goes from the bottom all the way to the top. Every single person, and I'm telling you, every single person doesn't understand. They're removed from it. They're looking at everything from a top down, from a view in the heavens. And people like you and I were stuck here on this earthly plane having to make these decisions. So I wish you the best out there. And I wanted to go through this a little bit because I wanted you to see that everything has its catch-22. But if you understand those risks and you want to go through it, I wish you the best. But go in it with your eyes open. Go in it with your eyes open and know that they're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to screw you. And it's not just the government, it's the banks. They're all going to find a way to screw you. Because that's how they make their money and that's how they stay in power. Guys, good luck out there. I hope everyone's doing great. And, hey, it'll all be over soon. And that's the great thing. Enjoy it while you can. Have a great one. Bye-bye.